Hey everybody, it's George Carroll, author of The Homeless Motivational Speaker, Developing a Healthy Relationship with Money, and Become a Published Author in 126 Days. And the target of this 126-day mastermind is simple. Develop an unstoppable momentum in the book writing process and become published in 126 days. So I gotta ask, are you up for the challenge? Are you an aspiring first-time author? Has anybody ever told you that, man, hey, you should write a book? Have you ever told yourself that there's plenty of books inside of you? Well, if there are, my friend, pay attention because this 126-day mastermind challenge might be exactly what you're looking for. 10 years ago, I got into the whole world of personal transformation and personal development, and I just knew along the way that a book wanted to come through me, multiple books. I said for years that there are lots of books that want to come through me, and I'm guessing you're probably one of those people too. And finally, one day, which was in 2014, one day I just simply decided. I made the choice that I was going to write my book once and for all, and that's the key. We've got to make the choice, and then we got to follow through with the action, the consistent action, until we take our book through the finish line. And so I remember 3 weeks into the book writing process, I was at a Chipotle in Phoenix, Arizona, and I opened my computer to go write, and I got the energy and sort of the communication from my book that says, all right, I'm complete. So within 3 weeks of getting committed and writing consistently every day, I would open up my computer and I would write something. And sometimes it was for 20 minutes, sometimes it was for 5 hours, but every day was consistent. And that's what this challenge will invite you to step into, is a level of determination, a level of consistency in your writing, and a level of commitment that maybe you haven't accessed before. So this 126 days isn't for anybody, and I'm only going to be working with 30 people. I've run this mastermind 2 other times before, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. In fact, you can scroll down and you can see some of the testimonial videos of people who have gone through this program and what they've said about it.
I mean, I've just been sitting on this book idea for so long, and what I really required was structure to get it done and accomplished, because I didn't even know where to start. Like, I had all these ideas in my head bubbling about the book, and I've written here and there different pieces of it, but it was really what I required was the structure and the accountability to actually get it done.
We got to get to the point where we don't let those excuses stop us anymore. We really got to erase the excuses and make a real choice, a real decision to move forward in the process of writing our own book. And one time I got to this place finally where I was able to say, screw it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I know there's a powerful message inside of me. I know I've got a powerful story. I know I can help people. And that's the thing, we're not going to be able to reach all 7 billion people on the planet. We're going to be able to reach the people who are ready to hear us and who are ready to receive our work. And so we're not writing for everybody. We're not writing for the entire world. We're writing for those specific people who can benefit and be impacted from our message.
Because I want to write a lot of books. I want to make some money from making books. And I had to do the first one. So I just had that in my head because I'd made that decision, and then I was having coffee with Joni, and she said something about George is doing a book writing mastermind, blah 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 blah, and I went ding. So I called her and I called you immediately to find out if I could get in. And I had, again, like your book Solid, I had no idea what I was doing, but my little clicker said, do it now. So I did.
So I'm curious, what's stopping you from writing your book and getting it published and getting it out into the world? I know for a lot of people, there are some common threads that stop most aspiring first-time authors from getting their book out into the world, and I'm going to share those with you here in a minute. But I'm curious. Take a moment and ask yourself, what is it that's stopping me if I know that I have a book inside of me? if I know that I'm meant to be a published author, that I'm here to make a difference in the world, that I'm here to use my message, my experiences, my story, my realizations along the way to impact other people, what is it that's really getting in the way of me writing my book? And there are really 7 common threads, 7, boom, boom, 7 common threads that fall in the way of most people from ever writing their first book. And they are as follows. So the first one is the fear that it won't be perfect. And it won't be perfect. In fact, so this was one of the first versions of my book that was published, The Homeless Motivational Speaker. This was published in August of 2014, and since then I've published 2 other books, and my 4th book will be out in November of 2015 called Maximum Performance and Productivity. And in this book, as you can see, one of my dear friends got the book and she read it, and as she was reading it, she made a bunch of different corrections. So I'm not sure if you can see this here, but if you look, you can see there are different notes, different annotations, and your book doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you can see that this book has plenty of white space, right? It's got it's got large font, and it's not your ideal book. You know, it's not your ideal perfect book. But what if your book doesn't want to be perfect? You know, what if your book doesn't want to be like any other book out there in the world? What if your book wants to be your book? Are you willing to allow it to be created as it wants to versus you controlling and forcing it into something that maybe it doesn't want to be? So that's the biggest distinction that you want to make with perfection, is that your book won't be perfect. In fact, my philosophy comes from Peak Potentials, which is ready, fire, aim, which means when you got to get as ready as you can, and you're never going to be 100% ready. I always tell people that, you know, writing your first book is like having your first child. You'll never be 100% ready. And so you got to get as ready as you can, get as prepared as you can, and eventually you just got to go. And as you go, you correct course along the way. So even though this was a published version of my book, you can see that there were plenty of mistakes inside of it that I went back and corrected. The work that you put out right now won't be able to touch the work that you do in 5 years. The work you do in 5 years won't be able to touch the work that you do in 10 years. You will simply progress and become better as a writer, as a communicator, as a speaker. And as time goes on, you'll simply just get better. And as you look back, you'll see the first book that you wrote, no, hell no, it wasn't perfect. Hell no, it wasn't your best work, but you got it out. And once you get that first one out, the rest of them just become so much more easy to get out into the world. And I can't wait to bring my 4th book out into the world. So the second excuse that most people use, most first-time aspiring authors use, is the lie that you don't have anything important or valuable to say. Here's what I have to say about that. It's like, nobody knows what you know like you know it. Did you get that? Nobody knows what you know like you know it. So the combination of experiences, knowledge, wisdom that you've gained over the course of your life, that combination as it exists inside of you doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. So your book, and this is one of the biggest challenges, like you're taking this idea, right? This idea that's your book, this idea that wants to be birthed through you, and you're taking this non-physical idea and bringing it into physical reality, and it's one of the most challenging things that you'll ever do. But once you do it, you'll see that the things that stop you in the process of writing your book are probably some of the things that stop you in life when going after your dreams. So when you break through some of the barriers that show up during this process, during this 126 days, once you go out back into your life and you're coming up on blocks and limitations, they'll affect you a heck of a lot less because you busted through them in our 126-day container.
The container was just so perfect to have just the container, the space and the encouragement to write. And I mean, for me, it was just absolutely perfect. Yeah.
So again, my friend, nobody knows what you know like you know it. The combination of experiences, knowledge, wisdom, and awareness that you have doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. So the key is to surround yourself with a group of people, which I'm going to share more about. Surround yourself with a group of people who empower you, who support you, who inspire you to keep going through the process. The third biggest excuse that people use is the fear of being seen and the fear of being judged. And I think this is one of the biggest ones that gets in the way, and it's a challenging one. I remember when I was at the cusp of launching my first book It was August 2014, and I got to the end of writing my book. And because the title of The Homeless Motivational Speaker, I had a lot of people send me hate mail. A lot of people sent me, messages saying, how dare you call yourself homeless when you were never really homeless? And man, it hurt, because some of these people, believe it or not, were people that I considered to be friends, people that I considered to be part of my peer group. And when I got some of those messages, it hurt, it stung. And I remember looking back and I said, wait a minute, this is one of the biggest blocks that I use in my life to not step out and be as big as I could possibly be, is trying to fit into everybody else's box, trying to fit into what other people see me as, trying to fit into what other people think I should be according to their world versus being all of me. So one day I just said, fuck it. I'm going to publish my book, and I did, and I got it out to the world. And ever since August 29th of 2014, my life has been on this rapid expansion. And not only when you write your first book does it feel amazing, but if you're utilizing your book from a business standpoint to maybe become an expert in your field, to position you as an expert in your field. Because that's another thing you have to consider. When you write a book on a topic, you become an authority in that area. And when people are looking to hire you as maybe a speaker or as a coach or as a consultant, you wrote the book on it. So you are more apt to be hired by those people than somebody who hasn't written the book. So as a result of publishing these 3 books, my speaking engagements have flown through the roof. I think I have 60 speaking engagements so far, booked and paid speaking engagements in 2015, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. And as I look back, a big part of that puzzle was just getting my first book out of me and into the world, because it's what makes you different. It helps separate you from the crowd of other coaches or consultants or speakers that are out there, and it's a huge game changer. So if you got a fear of being seen, or fear of being judged, or fear of putting yourself out there, let's use this 126-day container to bust through that so that it never stops you again. Remember the time when you knew that the idea came through you that you were going to write a book? Remember that feeling that you had, and you got the download, right? You got all excited, and you opened up your computer, or maybe you got your journal out and you started writing, and all of a sudden you got writer's block, or you got stuck, or you didn't know what was the next step. And you're like, okay, what the hell do I do from here? Well, the biggest excuse, number 4, is that most people don't have a support system around them. Because it's easy when you get that inspiration, when you get that download of, okay, it's time to write the book, and you start writing and then you get stuck. But because you don't have any support system in place, you don't have anybody holding you accountable saying, hey, have you written today? Hey, you said you're going to write your book. Hey, I believe in you. Hey, you can do this. You don't have anybody challenging you and encouraging you. It's easy just to put the journal on the shelf and say, you know what? I'll do this another time. You know what? I'll do this later. I'll do this later. And then a year goes by. 2 years go by. And that idea is still there. It's still alive. But because you have no support system that says, hey, did you write today? You have no accountability. Typically, what most people do is they never ever write that book. And all they needed, in a lot of cases, just an accountability structure in place of people empowering each other to go through the finish line and write and publish their book. The 5th biggest excuse that people use, aspiring first-time authors use, is, I don't know how. Hey, you can publish your book. I'm going to show you the pathway to publishing, and as long as you're willing to write consistently and you're willing to persevere through the challenges that show up, we'll give you all the resources. We'll surround you with all the experts. We'll give you all the specialists. We'll put you in a community where people want to fire you up and get your ass going. The key is you got to keep writing. And so publishing a book has never been easier. So if this is one of your excuses, you just got to nip it in the bud and say, you know what, I'm going to learn along the way. In this 126-day container, we're going to lay down the pathway to publication for you. We're going to lay it down, bring all the experts in so that you have all the resources you need, all the pieces that you need in place in order to become a published author. The 6th biggest excuse is that there's no vision, there's no target, there's no outcome. It's like, why do you want to write a book? You got to get clear on why you want to write a book. If you want to write a book just for the sake of writing a book, you got to ask yourself, is that enough juice, internal juice, to inspire you to finish your book? So before you even start this program, if you go through the application process and we have our exploratory call and you're approved and you become part of the mastermind, you're going to have some homework before we even start. And part of what we're going to do is going to get you clear on why you want to create the book, why you want to write the book, what would you like the book to open up in your life or in your business, because once you get clear on that, the inspiration starts to show up. You're going to get stuck along the way, and if you can begin with the end in mind and know where you want your book to take you and what you want your book to open up for you in your life and in your business, it becomes a lot easier during those times when you get stuck to say, hey, okay, let me connect with the vision. Let me connect with the outcome that I'm moving toward. Okay, let's get resourceful. Let me get some support, and let's get fired up and let's keep going. And the seventh biggest excuse that first-time aspiring authors use not to get published is that there's no structure. Sometimes we're so creative and we get the idea to write a book, and sometimes in order to create something in the world, we have to create structure and a little bit of discipline around it. And so inside of this 126-day mastermind challenge, we're going to have weekly calls set up. We're going to have 4 phases. As you scroll down and see below, we're going to have 4 phases that you're going to go through. Weekly calls. You're going to have accountability buddy set up, so you and another person from somewhere in the world are going to be accountability buddies, where you speak every week for 30 minutes. You're going to spend 15 minutes on you, 15 minutes on them. You're going to look at what you're celebrating, what's going well, what you're stuck on, and what you need specific support in. So the structure and the container is ready for you. You just got to step in. Who is this book creation mastermind for? Who is this 126-day challenge for? Well, if you're a coach, for example, let's take a look at it from a potential client standpoint. Let's say you write a book on your topic, on how you work with people, on your sort of unique style and how you work with people, and yet you're a published author. And your potential clients are also looking at maybe hiring other people who do similar work as you do. But they see that you're a published author, you've written a book on it. Whether you know it or not, they're going to hold you as the expert, as the specialist, as the authority in your field. I remember when I first started my business over 6 years ago, I went to this networking event and I met this really sweet man. His name is Jonathan Mansky, one of my dear friends. You may know who he is. And I met him and I had no idea who he was. He just seemed like a real kind guy. I was like, okay, cool. I got to stay in touch with this guy. And then a week later, I went to a 2-day certification course, and one of the participants there had a book, and it said Law of Attraction Made Simple by Jonathan Mansky. I was like, God, that name sounds familiar. I turned the book over. I see Jonathan's picture in the book, and I was like, I know that guy. And so I ended up reaching out to him. I was like, hey, man, I didn't know you're an author. I didn't know you wrote a book. Hey, let's have coffee. I ended up hiring him as a result of that because I saw him in this light because he was a published author. And he's brilliant. You know, he's an awesome man and powerful change agent. And when you become a published author, you have the book on a topic that you coach on or that you consult on. You become the expert and the authority in that field. So if you're a speaker, or maybe you're a coach and you're starting to grow your speaking business, or you're a trainer or a facilitator and you want to up-level your speaking business, a book is a really powerful way to do that. Same thing from a meeting planner standpoint or an event planner standpoint. Somebody who's looking to book you for a speaking engagement, if you have a book on the topic and a lot of other speakers don't, they're going to look to you as the expert. They're going to look to you as the authority, and it's a big reason why people book me over a lot of other speakers that are out there. So if you've got a book inside of you, you know the concept, you got the sort of the energy of the concept of the book, that's enough to work with. Only apply if you know what the concept is. Maybe you've got a little bit of motion with your book already, but you know the concept and you just know that now is the time. Apply, and you and I will get on the phone. First, when you hit the Apply Now button below, or to go to my online calendar, you'll schedule a 30-minute exploratory session with me, and you and I will get on the phone, and we'll simply see, is this a match for you or not? I certainly hope that you'll apply and we'll get to hop on the phone, connect, and explore to see if this mastermind is a match for you. If you know that there's a book inside of you, if you know that a book can help up-level your business, or a book can help change people's lives. And if you want to create maybe an additional revenue stream for your business, then I invite you to apply. But please only apply if you're right there and you know you're on the cusp of leaning in to saying yes and writing your book. This program is not going to be for everybody, and I'm more focused on working with an intimate group of people. So you'll be only one of 30 people inside of this mastermind. And I don't know about you, but I've joined programs in the past where I was one of 300 or 400 people, and I just felt like, you know, a grain of sand on the beach. I just felt like I got lost in the noise of everybody else. One thing that I love doing in my online programs is I like to create intimacy. I like to create that one-on-one connection. And one of the coolest things about this program that I love and that a lot of participants love is that there's a weekly call over the course of our 18 weeks together. And during those calls, we're going to cover a specific topic in the book writing process. And many of those calls, especially towards the end, I bring in a guest expert that is an expert in editing, an expert in publishing, an expert in designing your book cover. You know, I bring an expert to help you learn how to become a bestseller on Amazon. I bring in an expert to help you learn how to shift and utilize your book into becoming a speaker. I bring in an expert that shows you his formula on how to get on TV with your book. And so I bring in a whole team of people that give you all the information that you need, and it can be done. You can do this. I'll bring in the container, I'll bring in the experts, I'll bring in the support, I'll bring in the structure. You simply got to bring in your concept of your book, and you got to be willing to write consistently. It might not be every day, but it might be every other day. You've got to create a pattern of writing and build that muscle. If you can do that and you're determined enough, I want you to apply below, and then you'll schedule a 30-minute exploratory call with me, and we'll get on the phone and we'll see if it's the right match. So depending on when you're watching this video, you'll also see that the investment for this program is going to be $14.95, but there are going to be a couple of early bird windows that show up before that that will allow you to get in at a lower rate. So my invitation to you right now is to apply. You'll be locked into the window of the price point that you apply from. So take a look, scroll down, check out all the information, and if you get the sense that this program can be a catalyst for you to finally finish that dang book already, then apply and let's get on the phone and let's see if it's a match for you. So I look forward to connecting with you. Take good care, and I'll see you real soon.